Well, good morning, students. Here it is Wednesday, and today we're going to talk about conflict styles. Okay, so if I can bring you to page 351 of your book, if you have it, all right, we are going to talk about comparing and contrasting styles of conflict management along the dimensions of assertiveness and cooperativeness. And here again, conflict can be classified in 5 different styles. Bringing it back to figure 10-2, you look at assertiveness and cooperativeness, and on page 352, so you have avoiding, competing, collaborating, accommodating, and compromising in the middle. You have assertiveness here again on your vertical axis, and cooperativeness going from uncooperative to cooperative in your horizontal axis. So let's talk about that a little bit. Um, there are 5 styles that result from 3 different dimensions, and that is competing, collaborating, compromising, avoiding, and accommodating. Okay, so similarly, we all have this type of internal nature to compete. And that competition can be kind of being unassertive or it can be very assertive. Introvert, extrovert type thing. Collaboration, we both decide we want to work together. We're both assertive and cooperative. Compromising, style of behavior, moderately assertive or moderately cooperative. Avoiding style is when we never directly confront the issue. And with the avoiding style, we don't address the issue at all. We walk away and put things off to some future date. Then we have accommodating, which is we're unassertive and cooperative, and that's the opposite of competing. That's the total introverted style. With the accommodating style, the person seeks to satisfy the interests of the other person without being really looking at your own concerns. So, when we talk about conflict management strategies, okay, we want to create an appropriate structure, cognitive framing, and then eventually get to uh, to get different techniques that work. So the idea is, I want you for a minute to focus on the word dissonance. Dissonance is the difference between where you are and where you want to be. The further apart they are, the more dissonance there is. So essentially, what you try to do is reduce the amount of dissonance so you have less conflict, less emotional involvement, and more focus on the goals that you're trying to achieve. So, one thing that's for sure, and that is the use of interpersonal techniques, and that's on 352 of your book. In order to solve problems, you got to communicate better. You got to have better relationships, and also you solve things based on the facts and not on the emotions. So you need transparency, you need open communication, and you want to encourage your organizational leaders to build relationships. That is, relationships can be formal and informal, but whatever it takes to bring people together to break down the amount of dissonance is really important. So if you're really in conflict with someone, go to dinner, have lunch together. If you've got a good working relationship with them, and focus on the conflict, what's causing the conflict. Focus on the issues and not make things personal. When you have to bring third parties in to resolve the conflict, remember, they are neutral. People are neutral. They put certain ways of resolving conflict into a template sometimes. And that isn't always the best way to do things because, like I said earlier, every organization has its own culture. So, from a managerial standpoint, you do rely on rules, policies, procedures. And the thing is that when the policies aren't clear, when the policies aren't spelled out, and everyone is not on the same page, people will tend to go back to their own personal values to try to resolve problems. You need to be able to do a couple of things with problem resolution. Number one, focus on the facts. Don't deviate from that. Number two, agree to disagree on certain things. Table those items and then go back to them later. But then go back and focus on the things that you can solve. Your book states that have a simple agenda that sets the rules, but both sides have to agree to the rules, not make things complicated based on your personal needs. And don't always pull rank, even if you do have it, to solve problems. In order to solve problems, you both have to come to the same page, despite your relationship with the formal organizational structure. Your book talks about cognitive framing. It's the way a person perceives, frames information. And that means that you're taking mental structures that help to organize the situations. What is it that you're trying to do? Cognitive framing involves putting an agenda together that is going to work for both parties involved. Try to prioritize the time value line. How long will it take to solve the problem? What are the resources? And how much will those resources cost? Do the ends justify the means? So we want to put aside individual differences and link information to what actually resolves the problems at hand. This will be the end of this particular section, phase one. Phase two will be about negotiation.